So today we have Liver King, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. There's a identity fitness issue within the fitness industry, and this is one of the biggest kind of telltale or kind of cautionary tale. Is it a cautionary tale? The biggest. This is one of the biggest proofs of that, right? Is this guy. Now, I never heard of Liver King until this whole scandal started. Never heard of him, and the reason is because I'm not into that identity fitness thing. Like, oh, this guy does this super obscure thing, or oh, this guy does like all of this he does handstands on top of a building, almost like he could fall and to his death. But because he does this, like, he's so cool, and I watch him. But then he also gives fitness advice. That fitness identity fitness situation is, to me, that I mean, probably that's why my channel is not anywhere near like people like this are growing the way all these other people's channels are, because they hit that emotional element as opposed to just the here's the study, here's this, here's that, which is what I do. And it drives viewership, it drives momentum, but then they use that to kind of like gaslight and trick people into doing certain things or believing certain things. And I'm gonna watch this confession for the first time, but I know the gist of this. I know that he pretended, or he was saying that he didn't take performance enhancers or anything like that, and that he did everything by, I guess, eating raw meat or whatever, or eating raw liver, and that was his whole thing. That was his whole claim to fame. But this brings the issue of identity fitness. So we're gonna watch this confession, I guess, and see what happens. I believe his emails to his doctor were leaked. So, all right, here we go. Let's take a look at this.
Primals, I'm making this video to apologize. Because I fucked up. Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Because I lied. And I misled a lot of people. I've stated that this is a complicated as topic, at least to me it is, because before social media, I was rich and anonymous, and after social media, I'm still rich, but no longer anonymous, and I never expected this kind of exposure in the public eye. It's been tricky as to navigate. Well, clearly I did it wrong, and I'm here now to set the record straight. Yes, I've done steroids, and yes, I am on steroids.
Okay, this man said clearly he did things wrong. My man's, this is always an interesting thing to me. You feel that you did things wrong when you put it in a frame like that. It's almost like you feel like you made an honest mistake. There was something that you didn't know, that you weren't privy to, that you were ignorant towards, and then because of this, oh, okay, my bad. I didn't know about that. My bad. But you knew. So your mistake was that you thought that it was okay to pretend that you weren't taking it, so that you could perpetuate a different narrative of, well, I got it through just eating liver and eating raw meat and all this stuff. See, that's my problem with identity fitness. That's why I can't, even if it's like, even if my team or my management team or anybody tells me, you need to be going out there freaking doing like crazy, calisthenic stuff, so that you could push this whole like, look at this shock value, that, so people could watch you. I just don't subscribe to that. Like, my channel could just die, and I'll still make videos, because I don't want to subscribe to that notion. I don't want to feed you that garbage, because that's literally what gets fed to people. I don't want to do. I would much rather give you the new studies that came out that have the best methodology, go through the hierarchy of studies in terms of using meta-analysis for you to understand what's the consensus of, or not the consensus, but what's the majority results of multiple studies, so that you get a better understanding of what's more likely to happen biologically, then eating liver, raw liver, so that you think, so you think that that's the way to do it just because I'm doing it, and then I'm doing all of this like showmanship. I just don't subscribe to that. And to me, this is like a super cop out to say, oh, damn, I never knew how to navigate social media. So, damn, I didn't know I couldn't trick you guys. Nah, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. Not buying it.
Steroids monitored and managed by a trained hormone clinician. Liver King, the public figure, was an experiment to spread the message, to bring awareness to the 4,000 people a day who kill themselves. The 80,000 people a day that try to kill themselves. Our people are hurting at record rates with depression, autoimmune, anxiety, infertility, low ambition in life. Our young men are hurting the most, feeling lost, weak, and submissive. So I made it my job to model, teach, and preach a simple, elegant solution called ancestral living, the 9 ancestral tenets, so our people no longer have to suffer, so we can collectively express our highest and most dominant form. This is my fight. This is why I exist.
Okay, so I'm telling you guys, I'm just now learning about who he is and everything, because I never watched any of his stuff. So his appeal, he's appealing to a specific crowd, right? Right now, what's popular is all of the kind of like the red pill stuff and the be a man's man kind of thing. Like, those are the things that are that's floating to the top in the YouTube sphere and even in social media as a whole, right? Those are the things that are floating to the top. And it looks like he's trying to attach himself to that. I don't know if he's always attached himself. I think maybe he's always attached himself, and that's probably why he's growing, because those kind of concepts are growing right now. But he's trying to almost like give you a wink and a nod, like, hey, still support me because I still care about this thing. Like, forget about the fact that I completely pretended that I built this for that. Let me pivot as hard as possible to appealing to this crowd that doesn't really care about fitness. Like, or they might care about fitness, but their main focus is on living the manly lifestyle or being more masculine and all that stuff. So let me appeal to them, and let me distance myself from the people who cared about fitness. Let me distance myself from the people who cared about getting in better shape. Let me distance myself from the people who believed me for my fitness and probably didn't even care for the other stuff that I was talking about. Let me go all in on this crowd. That's what he's doing right now. That's what he's doing right now. And it's a cop-out, because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to try to get that crowd back. I'm going to try to cut my losses and go to this crowd full force. How much you want to bet he's probably going to stop doing like fitness stuff? He's probably going to just focus on like talking about being masculine and all that stuff. Like, that's everywhere. That's where he's going to go with it. How much you want to bet that's where he's going to go with it? Like, we probably could revisit this a month from now, and he's probably going to be going all in on that stuff. Let's get back to it.
While spreading the message, I've been on several podcasts, and when asked if I've ever taken steroids, I've always said no, I don't touch this stuff, not going to touch this stuff, never touch the stuff. That was a lie. I've convinced myself that this had nothing to do with the ancestral message. I convinced myself that I'm not a competitive athlete of any kind, so who the fuck am I cheating? I convinced myself that this topic was a placeholder for a far more important conversation. I convinced myself that this would overshadow the 36 years of working out, usually twice a day, without PEDs. I've convinced myself that this was the vocal minority, usually in the fitness category, driving to an unproductive conversation. And I had convinced myself that this would be the wrong message to send to the 15-year-old boys. So I continually dismissed it, and I dug myself into a bigger and deeper hole. I have only myself to blame. I did that. And it was all wrong. I will be better. I will talk about it openly because I believe that there's a time and a place for pharmacological intervention monitored and managed by a trained hormone physician. In 2021.
Okay. One thing that I won't take away from people who build physiques like what Liver King has clearly right here, is that even with steroids, that still takes a lot of work. Even with steroids, right? You can take steroids all you want, but if you're not really going hard, you're not going to see results like that. Steroids definitely help you, definitely make things easier. For example, reducing fat accumulation when you are bulking. That is massive to the trajectory and the timeline that somebody would take. Because if you don't actually, one key thing that you could tell if somebody takes steroids or not, if somebody's taking performance enhancers, is do they gain weight? Do they just gain fat? Like normally gain fat on a consistent basis, then lose it, then gain it, then lose it, because that's the normal process of bulking when you just have whatever genetics you have. Some people have freak genetics off the jump, but for the majority of people who are building muscle or who are doing things and gaining muscle, whatever, there's a bulking period that you have to go through to actually have this substantial growth. And when you're doing that, you're going to gain body fat, and then you have to reduce that body fat to lean out, and then the process cycles back and forth. When somebody is lean all year round and then consistently gaining muscle, that's a tell that they could be on performance enhancers. Not saying it's automatic, but that is one of the tells. However, it doesn't take away how difficult it is. Yes, it is difficult, but it robs the narrative of like telling somebody to do something, because it's not going to work the way it's working for you in any capacity because you are taking performance enhancers. So no, I'm sorry, Liver King, but no. You can't say, oh, I did this and it was before, I worked out so much before, and before I took it, and it was going to undermine. It's still a tactic that misleads people. And when you're most popular is when you should care more about being truthful to your community. When you're most popular, not when you're not popular at all. When you're most popular, but you knew what you were doing. You knew that if you said you weren't, it will perpetuate more your lifestyle or whatever and push that narrative, whatever it is. I don't really know for sure exactly what I know Liver King, and I've seen some clips here and there preparing for this video. But to me, it's now let's talk about how this is actually a good thing you could do if you get it with a trained professional. But the whole time, it's like you're double speaking. You're saying that you thought that it would undermine. So that means that you felt that there was a negative element towards it. You felt that there was a taboo there. You felt that there was something that wasn't like positive there. But yet now you're saying, no, but it is positive. Now that I got caught. I'm sorry.
When I was 43 years old, I didn't feel 100% physically or cognitively. So I went to get monitored and managed by a trained hormone clinician to see what the was going on with my life. And so yes, it's true. I have tried several peptide combinations in an effort to increase my growth hormone, and it didn't work, meaning that my levels still remained below the normal level. So yes, it's also true that I've tried pharmaceutical grade growth hormone, and I finally found success in managing therapeutic levels in the normal range. Yes, this is true. I've continued on with 0.6 cc's of testosterone per week, roughly 120 milligrams of testosterone a week. And no, I don't take any other steroids like nandrolone or winstrol, but I have tried them in the past without success. Yes, it's also true that my blood chemistry got all f***ed up while taking nandrolone and winstrol. My lipids got all deranged. My liver enzymes went sky high, which is why clinical oversight is an absolute must. Nope, The Liver King brand has had nothing, or at least very little, to do with my business success. My companies were already kicking ass, already successful before the Liver King public figure, growing at 50% year over year, and still growing at the same pace after the Liver King public figure.
After after the public figure. I thought you were gonna say after the scandal, because like the scandal just happened, my dude. Like, you don't even have enough time to collect data to say if it's growing 50% year over year.
Nope. I've never had ab implants, ab etching, or any other plastic surgery, and I sure as never actually had gene editing done in Singapore. I made all of that up. It was all intended to be a joke, and that's an expression of ancestral 10 and 10. Have a little goddamn fun. Ultimately, why did I, or why do I do them? When I talk about the 85% of the population that suffers from self-esteem issues, that's me. I'm part of that statistic. This is why I work myself to death in the gym. This is why I do 12 to 15 blood-burning workouts a week, just to feel like I'm okay. Still, I have to absolutely crush myself to do so, and I'm wrecked physically and cognitively, and hormone replacement has helped in a profound and significant way. And still, I believe.
Bro, you could have openly discussed it before this. This is damage control that you're doing. You could have openly discussed this on your time when you wanted to. You're openly discussing this because you have to. That's not the same thing. It doesn't come across as more genuine. If you would have talked about it, that actually would have been much more, your PR would have been much better, because you spoke about it and you brought it to light. The fact that you waited for it to come to light and then play defense, it removes a lot of genuine feeling that even if you are being genuine, even if these things are true that you're saying, even if whatever it is that, depression and all that stuff, and I completely understand those things. Even if that is the case and you use this to make yourself feel better or whatever, the fact that you're coming out after you got exposed just makes it seem more disingenuous. And that's just the truth of how social media works. So,
if there are any questions that remain unanswered, send them my way. I fully own that I f***ed up. I am as sorry as a man can be. And all I can do is take extreme ownership right now, be better, and lead myself to a better life as a better human. Again, thank you to everyone for the support, the criticism, the love, the hate, and above all else, the loyalty. Liver King.
This is the problem, guys. This is the problem with identity fitness. Now, I understand that communities are built behind certain things. For example, even this channel, for example, was built behind, intermittent fasting, right? But I've talked about, walking. I've talked about cardio. I've talked about other fitness related stuff. I've talked about the science of weight loss, the science of body fat, fatty acids, triglycerides, adipocytes, fat cells. I've talked about so many different things to, just to give as much information as possible, as much context as possible to my community. But I don't dismiss the fact that I know that this channel was built off of, intermittent fasting, right? Because intermittent fasting there's so many studies out there for intermittent fasting. There's so many different things that I've gotten, even communications with doctors that focus on that, researchers that have focused on intermittent fasting over the years. So I get that. But when you create a platform that's simply based on identity fitness, which is you being the star attraction, right? With this channel, for example, intermittent fasting was the star attraction that brought a lot of people so that we could talk about it. We've talked about negative things on intermittent fasting, and we talked about positive things. I've gotten a lot of flack from my audience because I say stuff like, oh, doing this 170-day fast is not a good thing. And people are like, no, you should just be team fasting no matter what, regardless of the studies, which I will never do that. But when you are the star attraction, that's when things get muddy. That's when things get complicated. That's when things get gray areaed out and blurry, where people start to assimilate what you do, exactly what you do, to what they need to do and what they need to follow. I've always put forth the studies. I don't really put forth like so much of what I do. Like, you'll never really see me doing all these different fitness stuff. It's like I'll sprinkle them in throughout the years. Like, there's probably like 4 videos of the hundreds and hundreds of videos that I have of me actually doing like a workout or some type of thing, because I don't want you to look at this channel and focus on me. I want you to look at this channel and focus on the studies that I'm presenting. I just want to be a talking head for the studies. But when you make yourself the star attraction to what drives your community, things like this are almost inevitable. That's why I don't subscribe to stuff like identity fitness. And a lot of people do. And all I'm saying is, when you see stuff like this, just be very, very mindful. I mean, appeal to authority. That's the whole premise of these kind of things. And I've made a video essay on that before, and I'll post it over here or wherever. I'll post it here so you guys can see. It's a video essay I made a while back where it was talking about appealing to authority. And this is what happens when this happens. When you get to the point where you're the star, the main attraction, people just look towards you and just listen to what you say without really understanding if they should research things on their own, if they should figure things out on their own, or if what you're telling them is even the truth, because it's not attached to any type of study that you're presenting or any type of study consistency, because that's important. 1 study or 2 studies not going to do anything. It's not going to mean anything. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on this. Thought I would talk about the Liver King. I promise you, I've not known about this man until this scandal came out. But it's just, to me, it's always a thing that I've always thought in my head. I never really spoke about it, but I always disliked the whole identity fitness kind of situation. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next week. Peace out, guys.